call to order our meeting as of Tuesday, February 15th, 9:36. So we'll begin our meeting. And let's see, the first item was to review and approve minutes. Next item, which we can't do. So the next item is the Urban Forest Master Plan update. I guess Sally gave the microphone to Aaron, so.
Okay. This morning we actually received the second draft of the Urban Forest Master Plan. I believe Craig printed out some copies for those that are in attendance. Or Sally, somebody printed out copies for those in attendance. So we'll have that for review by the commission. Should have the final draft in about a month. I think we've got about a month time frame before we get the final draft. But so far, everything we've seen so far looks really good. So we'll just get feedback from the commission and some other people and keep rolling with it.
All right. So what our thoughts are is that we give the commission a month to review it, and then next meeting we have a full discussion on it. Is that within your timing?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
That was the plan.
So yeah. So what we'll do is we'll forward the master plan, the second draft master plan via electronic copy so that you could review it, read it, and then next meeting we'll have a full discussion on it and add our comments, thoughts, and whatever else. So so I think that's the action item, one of the action items from this meeting for everybody on the commission. Please review it. And, don't hesitate to reach out to Aaron or Sally if you have any questions before the next meeting for clarification or whatever else. So, all right. Anything else, Aaron? Or
I think that's it right now for master plan. I've got a couple of items we can do later, but that's it for the master plan.
Thank you. So the next is Heritage Tree and Tree Awards. So I know that there was someone who applied for
I have two heritage. I have two recently submitted heritage tree applications, and my plan is to get Kathy and Alana together to visit those to ensure that they understand how to make the measurements and assessments, and then I'm going to turn that over to those two ladies.
Okay.
Just let me know when, and I'm ready to work on this.
Yep. I've been extremely busy with other stuff for the last few weeks, but my time's opening up, so I'll email you and Alana and arrange those visits.
Okay.
Hey, Jim, can you add me to that list, and I can also be of help in.
Yep, we'll do.
And if any heritage tree ones that we've already recognized internally, but we haven't recognized, through city council, if you give me that, I'll create a spreadsheet. That way we can keep track of them so that when we are looking at recognizing them maybe next spring.
Yeah, we've had several, that have been recognized as heritage trees over the last 18 months or so, and they've never been, had an official designation at a city council meeting. So I think that's good idea. Yeah, I'll send you that information.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you.
And Jim, put me on the list in case I'm available to, just to.
All right, we're going to have a full team of tree measurers.
We'll all learn.
Yeah, good.
All right, so Jim will forward the list that he has to Craig, and Jim will also coordinate timing for training. So fantastic. Thanks, Jim. All right, the next item on the agenda is the native tree list that has been compiled. And I know that Lloyd from the Arboretum and Jim had worked on it. So you want to review, and I know that,
Yes, if you could pull up the Excel spreadsheet that I sent to
Yeah.
Craig.
Yeah, I definitely had it up. Now take care of it.
it was a very thorough spreadsheet.
Comprehensive.
Yes.
Uh, This is Darren Penny's original list. And this is a very interesting list in that it's obvious to someone with a lot of experience with native trees that he derived this totally from literature sources. Some of the verbiage there in the habitat information, I've got half a dozen dendrology books on my shelf at home. And he pulled it from a number of those. Darren is he's a member of the faculty in the Department of Biology and Marine Biology at UNCW. And his research experience based on his publication list is totally devoted to a family of small flowering plants in South America. So I don't know what courses he teaches, but whether he's actually spent any time in the forest here, I'm not sure. So this is a good starting point, but it needs a lot of work. If you scan down it, you'll see tree species that are native to North Carolina but don't occur here. He has black locust on it, for example. Well, black locust is a mountain and western Piedmont species. So Kate and I are gonna. I promised Connie and Lloyd a long time ago that I would work on this list, and I'm finally reaching the point that I'll have some time. So Kate and I'll work on this. We need to pare it down and do some sorting because in order to make it really useful for the public, it needs to be sorted by common name.
Maybe cultural requirements as well.
And sort by cultural requirements, exactly. Dry site versus wet site. Maybe 3 different sorted versions of it.
Yeah.
So, but it's a very good starting point. It's just the most comprehensive. If scans to the left and so very, very detailed habitat information. It's got the flowering time, fruit type, wildlife food source, animals benefited. Darren spent a tremendous amount of time in the literature compiling this list. Got the wetland classification is a good one for folks who understand that. So excellent starting point.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Very much so.
Note that the Alliance has already put this up on their website because we really, I mean, people have been asking for this update for a year and Jim has just not had a time to do this. So we went ahead without him. So.
And for folks who aren't afraid of this list, it's very useful, but we need to remove those that are not really common natives in this region.
Yeah,
Ones
understand.
that are fatal after planting.
Yeah, there at least a couple of species on here that have had disease issues, and those would need to come off as well.
So just, do you think you can get it by next meeting or the
No.
meeting after?
Maybe give me 2 months to work on it.
Sure. No, I'm just
Yeah.
want to.
Question.
Yeah.
What is the goal for this list?
Well, the goal is to create a list of native trees that are common in this region as a resource for the public. And of course, the challenge then is, are they available in the nursery industry? So you got to create the demand among folks who buy trees in order for the nursery industry to respond. But at least having a list of common native trees in this region that people can refer to.
And one of the goals is to post it on the tree commission website,
Yeah,
right?
eventually posted on the Tree Commission website. Absolutely.
Yeah, and maybe we can try to do some outreach to some, landscape planners or that sort of thing in order to, just continue to educate the public on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, Jim, I got a question. Can you help me understand what the difference? This was the list when I reached out to Lloyd. I think I had reached out to you too, but Lloyd responded.
Yeah, I think Lloyd probably has taken a few of the non-native species off of it. And of course, you can see he just pared it down to scientific name, common name, and what's the third column? Deciduous versus evergreen. Yeah.
Right. So yeah, his is much smaller. I mean, is this already done the homework? I guess I'm trying to understand the two lists.
You know, I really haven't had time to review that versus what's in the spreadsheet. There's a lot of useful information in the spreadsheet, and maybe we would eventually have 2 or 3 versions of the list. But this is certainly a good starting point.
And
Connie, can you hear us? You're on mute.
Okay. I couldn't for a second. I'm sorry,
Okay.
but I can.
Do you have both lists on the website or just this list?
I think it's just this list. We went ahead and I think that was what Lloyd felt like was enough for the, for our list right now, and people could look it up if they really got interested in it. But I think that it would be great if we expanded, especially to have, the kinds of things, the soils, sorts of areas that they should be planted in, and remove some of the ones that obviously are not going to do well here, in particular because of climate change. For one thing, obviously anything that grows in the mountains is not going to do well here. So I mean, we're willing to, repost something once you all go through it, but we wanted to go ahead and get something out there because we just didn't have a good list, and everybody was, we had one up, but it was really not comprehensive, not good. And we wanted to get one that at least was scientifically okay.
Good idea.
Well, I would love to start working on it and organizing it, but I'd like to work with, I know, Jim, you're pretty busy most of the time because you've got a lot of commitments. Is there another person that could work on it with us, and I could just, or is it just probably you and I?
What we need is a good grad student intern.
Well, actually, I do. It's not a grad student, but I do know a young man who's very knowledgeable about native trees, who's at UNCW right now. Could I reach out to him? I don't know if he has the time.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And maybe if he doesn't.
Do you know if he's an undergraduate or grad?
Well, he's an undergraduate, but he's an older undergraduate.
Okay.
And I met him at Cape Fear River Watch, and we went out and looked at trees together, and it was obvious to me he knew a lot. And that was like 8 years ago. So he's never stopped studying. So I don't know if he knows all the, nomenclature. I don't know if he knows all the genus and species and stuff, but I do. There's only like one tree on this list I wasn't familiar with.
Yeah, well, I'm going to do the initial work of taking out the trees that are not really common in this region, that adapt to this region, and we'll start from there. Yeah.
Can I make a comment
Yeah.
here? So curious if there was thought given to putting the trees into categories.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
Large trees, medium-sized trees, small trees would be, one classification.
flowering trees.
Flowering
perhaps?
trees versus non-flowering trees would be another classification.
Needled evergreen,
Conifers versus deciduous. Yeah, you could sort that list
broadleaf.
half a dozen
evergreen.
different ways. Yeah.
And I think since your goal is to have it as a resource to the public, maybe some applications where these trees would be successful. So for example, if someone wants to plant them in their yard versus as a street tree. if-
Yeah, I think the street
Or
tree issue
landscape
is
plan.
really a separate issue. And of course,
Yeah.
Aaron's experience and what works and what doesn't would be.
I do too.
So generally, this is for people's
Yeah.
yards, gardens.
Yeah.
that
Well,
sort of
you
thing.
got an awful lot of people who would love to plant a tree in that plaza between their side. In fact, I've got 3 different friends who said, Jim, what can we plant there? And I say,
I think
that dirt is so bad. You're wasting your time.
if you could maybe add a column and just say, this tree will ultimately need this much room, or, that kind of thing. Because I think that people don't know. I think, they're like, hey, yeah, I'm going to put a tree here. And they don't think that 10 years down the road, it's going to need this much room, or the root system's going to grow into this, you know. I have a neighbor down the street that was like, I want a weeping willow. And I'm like, you realize that's going to grow into your sewer system, right? I'm like, have at it.
Go
Have
through your
fun,
foundation.
have fun, you know. But so, you know, maybe just a short blurb next to each one so they know what they're getting into, because, you know,
Yeah.
people aren't
Well,
smart.
I quite agree. You know, that's the list that Darren put together is really comprehensive. It's a good starting point. But for folks to be able to actually make a decision about what species or cultivar, and cultivar is another issue. We really, really need to push as hard as we can up and pollinated trees, because the cultivars, you know, are clones. They're all genetically identical. So if you plant too many of one cultivar, that again is an issue if you have an insect or a disease issue that attacks that particular cultivar. So there are a lot of different issues here. In fact, I had actually spent some time drafting just a description of what native trees are, a bunch of definitions, and maybe I can get back to that. It would be a part of this process.
I don't know how much people feel it would be useful to talk in the list a little bit about the what Doug Tallamy calls keystone species. Like the top of the list is for biological use by 150 other creatures, you know, both mammals and insects, and are the oaks. They're the top of the list for creating habitat. And then there's two others, the native cherries, especially the black cherry, and then the birches, and the only birch that I know that lives down here is the river birch. I don't believe there's any others, but and then he has other herbaceous material. But I thought it might be useful to make it really understandable to the public, because a lot of this terminology might be confusing to them. So flowering trees people understand, but they think it's the ones that have the bright notable flowers rather than the apetalous flowers, meaning no petals, or the ones that are wind pollinated that they have catkins instead of what we think. So it's very confusing to start studying it, but if you could make it simplified, canopy trees, meaning the big growing trees like the maples and.
Kate, you know, I think a small white paper on all those issues coming from you would be very useful. Are you willing to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that'd be great, Kate, for your help and support on that. And then, you know, you might also want to, you know, take the list that Jim has developed and, you know, send it back to Jim and have him, you know, that way you can get the things moving, and then Jim can also provide guidance afterwards rather than waiting to get together, so to speak. You know, sort of developing it the way you feel, and then passing it off to Jim for him to review it and see what his thoughts are.
I think it'd be really helpful. I don't know how many people go to the tree commissioner's website for information on trees. Do you have any idea? Is there any way of knowing that?
I'm sure there's some count as that there's probably some analytics that will show that, but I don't know who would have it. We'd have to talk to the, you know, the data analyst folks who can do that. You know, the other thing is, you know, is there a way that we could also, you know, market the website a little more once we have this on there, of saying, you know, here is a valuable resource, and putting it out there in social media or whatever else so that we get it in front of the public. So, yeah. And you know, but once we have the information, then we'll start, you know, blitzing it with social media.
I've got a
Of
couple
course,
of
Connie and I've
to-dos.
talked about cross-linking. Anything we put on the tree commission website related to these issues will be available, at least on a link from the ACFT website as well.
Yeah, definitely cross-reference between, you know, the Alliance for Cape Fear Trees and the Wilmington Tree Commission.
Yep.
But yet at the same time, we can also utilize, you know, the social media of the city and trying to put that out to the public. All right. Craig, you had a question, thoughts?
No, just Kate, to follow up, I'll send you that Excel spreadsheet. So you've got it and you can add columns, as you see fit. And I'll see if I can't get some analytics on our tree commission website, bring to next meeting.
Okay. Great. There's a comment in the chat or?
Idea.
Hey, wait. Alana is here.
The comment was about doing a QR code so people could, she can't speak. She's in between classes, but she's here.
Great.
It's a quorum.
Yep.
But she brought up the comment about doing a QR code on the sticker on a small sign to put them in the garden centers so people could get to the information.
Yep. Oh, great.
As part of the work that we did with the UFMP, I actually have a whole stack of stickers, probably a couple hundred, of QR codes that link to the city web page for trees.
Oh, there you go. Great.
It links to the main city trees page, not specifically to the tree commission page, but it's very doable. So
Okay, great. Thank you.
we can post it both places. It'd be easy to find.
All right. All right, well, any other thoughts on the native tree list? Okay, we'll move on to another Jim item.
Yeah, really nothing to report on Eden Village landscaping. I had met with.
No, we're on plot plan
Oh.
process.
We're on what?
On plan.
Oh,
process
okay.
for
All right.
completing- Yep,
Can we,
Yep.
you want to go back and just, since we got our quorum, while we've got to just see if we can get the minutes approved?
okay. Since Alana's joined us, we'd like to approve the minutes from the January 18th meeting. Anybody have any questions, comments on them? Do I hear a motion to approve?
So moved.
All right,
Approved.
second,
I second.
okay. Anybody oppose? All right. They
Approved.
approved.
Thank you.
Lana put in
Lana.
comments that she approved.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we got that done. Now on to plot plan process for completing tree inventory.
Yeah, can you pull that up, Craig?
Sorry, Jim.
Connie and I were part of an ad hoc committee that was pulled together by the New Hanover County Planning Department several months ago to discuss the tree protection issues with what's commonly referred to as the 421 corridor. It's 421 north of where the never can remember the name of the northern bridge, but anyway, from there. to
Isabel
the county-
Homes. Isabel Homes.
So from there to the county line, it has been designated as industrial zoning by the county. And there's been a lot of complaints from the developers about the cost of applying the tree protection ordinance. And the way the county has developed their tree protection ordinance is quite similar to the city's tree protection ordinance, and it requires a detailed inventory for a tract in which development has been proposed. And if you would pull that up a little bit, Craig, and see if you can enlarge it. This is the regulated trees list in the county ordinance. And I just realized that this does not have pond pine listed on here, which is one of the iconic native species. And that reminds me because I've just been working on a site that has a lot of big pond pines on it. But anyway, I propose a plot sampling approach that, that would go much faster and be much less costly than the current requirement that all the regulated trees be actually surveyed by total station. This works in the stands in that industrial corridor because they're predominantly relatively young pond pine turkey oak stands. And the idea, if you pull up to the third page, Craig, is a plot sampling approach. And this is just an example I had in here where you have a 10th acre plot within each 1 acre square. And this would require use of GPS and GIS equipment. And someone is really familiar with how to use that. You'd set up this plot sampling approach and a GIS map, and then navigate to each of these plot centers with the GPS. And so you would inventory what's in that 1/10 acre plot, and then just walk around that 1 acre section just to see if there are any large trees that are in these significant and specimen tree categories. This would work well in those stands in the industrial corridor because the stands are dominated by moderate to small sized longleaf pine and turkey oak, and also some laurel oak. That would not work in a stand that has a lot of big trees. And I just recently been doing an inventory on a tract like that. So this works under certain conditions where you've got a lot of relatively small trees, and goes much faster than trying to do a complete inventory with a total station.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The industrial park plot, does it touch the river? Does it go down to the river?
Well, not all the way to the river. It goes to the edge of the floodplain.
So it does have some floodplain?
Yeah, well, it's from, what's the name of the northern bridge?
Isabel.
From the Isabel Holmes Bridge to the county line, and from the Northeast Cape Fear to the Cape Fear, that region.
So is there some protection for the trees within the floodplain?
Hopefully, the county would never allow that big development to go into the floodplain.
Well,
Yes, I understand. But the available areas, well, that entire area is sandhills. It's ancient beach dunes, and the longleaf pine, turkey oak, laurel oak stands are classic sandhills, longleaf pine ecosystems. And very little else except those 3 species.
So with this plot survey, has this been accepted by the county or?
Yes, it was accepted by the county, and they were going to include it in their technical manual. Now, whether that has been accomplished, I haven't really followed up with Rebecca Roth, who's the planning director, but that was her plan. Yeah, to make it available to developers who wanted to use it.
Okay.
is this only applicable to large amounts of?
Well,
large-
yeah, the objective was for large tracts to develop a methodology that was quicker and less costly, but still give the county planning department the information they need.
Is there any limitation, like after a certain amount of acreage, it would then go to more observable on the ground rather than GPS?
No real criteria, the standard survey approach works fine, on small tracts, 2 or 3 acres. But once you get beyond those small tracts, then it becomes extremely costly to use the standard practice that the city of Wilmington still requires, and that is an actual total station
100%. Map
of the trees within these classifications. And the site that I've been working on recently, that's the only way. It's got so many big trees on it. That's the only way you get the information that's needed.
Would it behoove the county to put in a limitation on acreage? Like after this amount, you could go to this
Well, I don't think that some hard and fast criteria would be useful. Basically, what Rebecca and her staff would do would be negotiate with a developer who's coming in with a preliminary plan as to which type of tree inventory approach is most efficient for the developer and for the planning department.
So is this something you want to introduce to the city, or just do you think the city doesn't have as large tracks like the county?
Well, there are a couple of Cameron-owned tracks, Independence Boulevard, where this would work quite well. Because there's one that I drive past every day at the corner of Independence and Shipyard, which is dominated by relatively small pine trees.
Yeah.
So something like this would work, but there just aren't that many tracks left where this would be useful within the city.
All right. So we don't want to propose anything to the city then?
I don't think so.
Gotcha. Okay.
Hey, Jim, just a process question. With the county, when you looked at that area within the industrial that they are applying this for, is really all the tracks out there following that same pattern of growth of?
Well, I've visited 8 different tracks and 11 different tracks over a period of a couple of days. And only one of those 11 had any big trees on it. And this procedure would not work on that track because there were a number of large trees and they would need to be mapped by the standard practice.
What happened here is we changed in the city ordinances for this particular area so that we're looking at saving canopy as opposed to saving individual trees. That was compromise. Actually, that was the better plan as stated by the developers themselves. So we're saving canopy and not looking at individual trees specifically, although we are trying to save those that are significant that are listed in their ordinances as they are right now. So this was specifically for the 421 industrial corridor. And I'm sure that they will utilize the plot plan that Jim has just gone over, but they're, what we planned and what we came up with for 421 is not necessarily at this moment in time going over to other areas of the county, because that is not on the agenda of the planning department yet to move those over, although it was indicated that they would eventually do that. That helps.
Thanks, Connie.
Mhm.
All right. Any other questions on the plot plan process? All right. Next on the agenda is Arbor Day. So I know that we've been having some discussions on Arbor Day between prior to the last meeting. And Craig, do you want to give the update?
Sure. And Aaron, jump in if I miss anything, but what has transpired since our last meeting is had a meeting at Snipes Academy with their vice principal. Kind of walk through the process of what we were looking at. And I'm waiting for the principal. I sent her a narrative of how we would do this. We've targeted the date of March 17th, 1:30 in the afternoon, but everything is in a proposed state. I'm waiting for her to talk to her principal and get approval on that. And then from that point, then Aaron came out, we picked an actual site. I marked it on a site plan and I sent that back to him. Connie's got us the insurance rider we need. So from our standpoint, we've got all our kind of ducks in a row. This is everything we can possibly do to this point. And we're just waiting on Snipes to say yes. And then I send that plan to a county operations person, Leanne Lawrence, for her final review and approval. And I do have Connie is Alliance, of course, is pivotal on this thing. We're partnering on this. Margie Heron is going to help us with some drafting of a press release that we could send out to promote it. We'll try to get elected officials there. We'll invite county school board people to attend. I'm not sure if I missed anything else. Aaron, anything else?
It is North Carolina Arbor Day that day.
1:30 was the target time.
That is tentatively, but that was what the vice principal thought would be a good time for them. It's when their recess finishes, the kids would be out there and they'd go home after that, pretty much.
There was some discussion about saplings or something, or pine saplings. Connie, was that?
I did not hear you.
Oh, there is some discussion about pine saplings or something like that, or was that?
Oh, we ordered some pine saplings way back and they should be here in, early March. And I did not know whether it was something that we might want to, give to the kids. I'm not sure because they are going to be lonely pines and that maybe doesn't going to work, but it is something that they can put in a pot and watch grow and perhaps plant. Or we could, plant some in a little plot somewhere nearby, on the school grounds and, see whether or not they'll grow, that kind of thing, let the kids watch them. So we will have some. That's just, it's just a matter of whether we feel like it's something we want to utilize or not. So you're welcome to use. I think we ordered 1,000 or maybe 500 in order to give away at some of the tabling events that we do, but happy to give them to the school effort if there's a way to do that.
Okay. Oh, thank you, Connie.
Mhm.
And also thanks for your support on this. Really
Yep.
appreciate all the help.
Sure.
And Tom, just for clarity, the tree is gonna come from the city. Aaron's got that org. And
You need to talk.
an Arbor Day tree campus. The process that would be they could use this event to fold into their application, and then next year they would be able to leverage Arbor Day for resources, funding to do events, things. I'm not sure if they're gonna take us up on that, but we did make that offer, and Allison even offered to complete the application for him. So hopefully we've made it fairly simple if they want to go forward with it.
Allison helped Trask get that designation last year, so she is familiar with how to make it work.
Great, fantastic.
Will we have a booth there? Will the tree commissioners have a booth there?
We weren't planning on having a booth there, but just showing up and, speaking and that sort of thing. Unless we feel it's an educational value to do that.
I mean, with the event being at the school, it'll just be obviously the kids in school and the school staff. It's not really going to be open to the public event because it's on school grounds. So I'm not sure you'd get a huge benefit out of having the full tree commission booth set up.
Yep. Okay.
But also in regard to, or in relation to Arbor Day and the event, our annual proclamation declaring, state Arbor Day, Arbor Day proclamation will be made at the March 7th council meeting.
Okay.
I believe it's the 7th. It's one of the requirements for Tree City USA status is to officially make a Arbor Day proclamation for the city. So that'll be done. And this week, or last week, I was notified that our application for Tree City USA status and the growth award for this past year were both approved. So this year is actually a milestone for the city of Wilmington. It's 20 years as Tree City USA.
Oh, great.
And 19 years with the growth award.
Oh, fantastic.
So it's a milestone year. We actually got new like street sign type Tree City USA signs that'll be put up with a 20-year sticker on them. So
Good.
we'll probably make a presentation regarding that. I would imagine probably in April, closer to National Arbor Day, just so we can get PR, get some advertising out about that. And I'll have to set up, I think the Forest Service usually does a presentation to the council. So we'll probably do that in conjunction with them. So just to give us a little bit of time, it'll most likely be no earlier than the first council meeting in April, but likely the second one.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I won't be able to attend the council meeting on the 7th. I'm out of town, so.
Yeah.
But
It's
I'll-
fine. It's mayor will read off proclamation, hand it to me and we'll shake hands and that'll be it.
Okay,
It's
great,
pretty simple.
good.
It's just a formality more than anything.
Yeah, I can make the April meeting for that. So,
Yeah, but I'll update details for the Tree City USA stuff as we
Yeah.
get them.
yeah, we also want to see if we can't get some social media around that too. You know, definitely see how we can continue to promote, you know, our Wilmington, you know, Tree City. So,
I'll be working with City Communications Department to get that announcement out at an
Okay.
appropriate time across
Gotcha.
all social platforms, so all media platforms.
great, great. Yeah,
And I just wanted to add that, you know, UNCW campus became a tree campus. So in the last year, so probably some of you all over there know that, but that's a great thing too.
okay, fantastic. All right, next is the Strategic Planning Committee updates. Any updates on tree ordinance and enforcement? Jim and Judd? Or,
Nothing accomplished yet.
okay,
Craig has and Sally have promised to work on setting up a meeting with key folks to get those discussions started.
okay, fantastic. Resource commitments, you know, I was just curious, Aaron, do you have the final resource requests or Sally?
So nothing's final yet. We met with the budget office this week, but the main request that we're making that's tree related is for a hazard tree removal contract. So it's funding to assist with that. Aaron can probably speak in more detail about this, but generally we have a lot of trees that are over mature in the right of way with high hazard targets that we know we have to address in the short term. So we have been scrambling to find additional funding to address some of these along with in-house crews, which means that those funds have been diverted away from some of our other tree care needs to address hazard trees.
Yep.
So what we're hoping to do is we can secure additional funding for contract assistance that we'll be able to focus on our other initiatives as well in the next fiscal year. And just have more resources to be able to do that while hitting our greatest needs.
Oh,
So
fantastic.
it is a high priority going into the budget.
Yep.
I don't know if we'll get all of it at what we requested, but I think we have a really good story to tell, and Aaron had a lot of data to add to the request. So generally, I'm reasonably optimistic about it.
Great. So just Sally, just another question. I know they're in the process of looking at, is it the median on, is it Fifth Avenue? And, you know, one of the things with the median on Fifth Avenue is all the overhead wires and stuff. And I know Duke Energy had announced that they're trying to put more wires underground. Has anybody approached from the city to talk to Duke Energy about putting those wires underground and potentially, you know, having a little bit more tree canopy in the center rather than removing it all?
So that's a public services project that,
Okay.
you know, we're sort of adjacent to. From what I understand, that conversation was had and it was exorbitantly too expensive to underground those lines in conjunction with that specific project.
Okay.
That's really the only level of.
I can add if you want me to. that
Sure.
I have found out that they are actually, Duke Energy is actually paying for that. It's not for this project, but they are actually paying for other projects within the city to do this without having to get city funds involved. So I contacted Dave Mays and said, I got the same thing that Sally's talking about. It's too expensive. And I said, if it's too expensive, have you actually asked Duke Energy, could they utilize some of those funds where they're using them for other locations for the Fifth Avenue? And I have not heard back a word from Dave Mays, whether that has happened or not. And I know Dave, his family lived behind me, so I'll follow up, but basically he is aware that Duke Energy is putting money into other projects without having to tap the city from funding. So that's a pot of money that may not stretch into Fifth Avenue, but if it's ever going to stretch, it ought to probably go over there. So I don't know yet.
Thank you, Connie.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, that's what I heard too, is that Duke Energy was paying to put it underground. And so,
Okay, for some projects, for
For
some
some projects,
projects.
yeah.
I'm sure there's a limited budget for that. And
Yep.
he's probably heard that. So, but he has not responded to me in any way at this point.
Okay.
It's been a while.
thanks, Connie.
Mhm.
All right. And then community education. I know that the Arboretum had set up its first community education on planting of trees a couple weeks ago. I wasn't able to attend. I had other commitments, but I heard it was pretty well attended. And it was probably more community rather than landscapers, but got to start somewhere. So, so that was the update I have. Kate, do you have any more updates on education or Alana? I know Alana, you can't speak.
She's gone now.
Okay.
Well, I sent out an email that while the Arboretum is, and I know kind of you worked with them, I think, on some of their community
Oh, yeah.
education.
And by the way,
Um,
I think that what we're doing for Arbor Day at the school is considered community education.
I wanted to work on something that's a concern of mine that it isn't exactly in line with what Lloyd has already developed, and that is about the educating the public more on natives and trying to educate nurseries more on how to fulfill that demand that we really want to see for natives. So that's something have been for years, many very interested in, and would like to see if there's some way in which if it can't be done through the educational committee, I could just figure out another way of doing that. And a couple more things. One is I really think the Arboretum is a wonderful resource for extension service projects. But perhaps there's other ways, other organizations that we could do some education within. And lastly, I wanted to talk about something that I just forgot because I didn't write it down. Oh, gracious.
So Kate, your thoughts on education with other
Yeah,
resources?
one thing I really.
I mean, we'd be more than happy to explore that if just give
Yeah.
us some of the potential partners you want to partner with, and then we can discuss potentially how to move that forward.
Yeah, and I did, I'm with the environmental book club, which Valerie Robertson started. And she does a lot with her Going Green publication to educate people on natives. She has a native in every issue. And one of the things they said at that meeting was that it would behoove everybody if all these nonprofits, and there's so many doing such great works, Ocean Plastic, Riverwatch, Alliance, there's just so many doing wonderful things, but they don't all have the time or the staff to coordinate what they're all doing. And I thought it would be wonderful if we could somehow come up with a way of a task force or a group of people that would help to have all these organizations work together on major projects to have more force and power. Well, what do you think about that?
I think coordinating efforts is always very beneficial, and there is power in numbers. The thing is the Wilmington Tree Commission would support it, but I don't think that we should be leading it. So, you know, I would say that, yes, we should be supporting, you know, all of these other, you know, nonprofits where we can, where it makes sense, where we cross paths. But I don't think that we should be leading the coordination of all the nonprofits and coming up with, you know, a potential plan, so to speak. That's my opinion. So. Anybody else have any other comments? Craig? Not to put you on the spot.
No, I have similar thoughts, you know, our role as an advisory. You know, that I think that we can certainly support that information and get into the hands that make sense. I actually think that the New Era County Cooperative Extension is a good place for that information. I think people naturally go there. They have those events regularly. They're there. They'll be at, you know, Earth Day events. They're already have that as part of their wheelhouse. But can we get them information that is perhaps, you know, more suited for, you know, what's going on here in Wilmington and what we think the citizens need and want? I definitely think we can provide that and, you know, that expertise to get it to them.
One of our goals actually that was identified, Craig, you will call, is working on convening the partnership group and working on the kinds of things as best we can, like what Kate is talking about. We lost a couple of members of that group, and I think it's up to me to convene it, and I just haven't done it. But that's part of what we think is important as well.
No, anything else, Kate?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda, Connie.
Yeah, I'll go pretty fast on this. I know we're getting at that time. We have distributions coming up. One is on March the 4th with a small number of trees. It will be at the Greenfield Lake Amphitheater as opposed to Legion Stadium. I think I just got the list that I'm working on as soon as we finish here for the kinds of trees, 300 to 350 trees, and there'll be 3 and 5 gallon, maybe a lot of 5 gallons this time as well for a small number, but maybe a bit of larger trees. Another one is April, and that, by the way, is through Arbor Day and Amazon. Amazon is seemingly one of our steadfast supporters. April 1st is Texas Roadhouse. That'll be 1,000 trees, and Texas Roadhouse sponsors that. And those of you who are around when we did Texas Roadhouse before know that we have to do it right there where the restaurant is. So that one on April 1st will be at that location. We do have funds for a distribution in Leland. We're hoping we can move that into October, but I haven't heard yet. It's possible it will have to be late in the spring, which I really don't like, but we'll see what's going to go on with that. That's a FedEx sponsored distribution. We have actually, I should say, moving on to what we're doing right now, we are going to be looking for a paid executive director within the next few months. And I think we have enough money in the bank to be able to start that process. There's a committee working on that, and we will meet again tomorrow. That will include office locations, and I think I have a nice location for that for the office as well. But all these things are not finished up as yet. We do have an errand. I don't know whether if you're still there. I know that there's going to be in partnership with the North Carolina Urban Forest Council, a Bradford Pear Bounty that will be either in October or November. And I have actually let Leslie know that either one of those dates is okay with me. So I don't know if have you picked a date yet, or do you happen to know what will work best for you? I know that also Extension Service is a partner in this, and so Lloyd he's on vacation. He needs to have some input. But anything you have to.
Yeah, we don't have a date set. I'm waiting to hear back some more information from Leslie before we set up a date and details of that. So it's still in progress.
Okay. I noticed that they posted it there are 4 different locations coming up, I think, for this year, and we are one of 4 in the state. I did have couple of comments from people to say, you know, we really need to be soft in the PR and promoting that, because we don't want to be organizing a group that cuts down trees, because we have enough trees that are being cut down anyhow. So I think we need to really educate people about why these are bad trees and why we would want to remove them if it's possible, but it's certainly not something that anybody is forced to be a part of. So, but they will get free trees once they bring something that shows that this was actually a Bradford pear that was cut down. That we'll have some more on that later on. For me, for just us, I'm going to be talking to North Carolina Cirrhosis on the 20th next week, but I also will be doing the class with Ollie on the Alliance for Cape Fear Trees and Value of Trees and things on the 28th of this month for between 1 and 2:30. And it is free class as opposed to paid class, because I don't have actually the credentials to be an expert on this, but I will try to talk about the kinds of things that we're involved in. So that's what I'm talking about. And I would like to ask also if I might have a copy of the inventory that you're talking about, just so we'd be able to look and see the canopy inventory, so we'd be able to be familiar with that as well, if it's possible, Aaron or Sally. And that's about it. I've got a 2-week vacation coming up, and hopefully things will survive without not being here. So that will be, and I will miss the next meeting from this. I'll try to get, I'll try to actually have one of our board members to participate, if that's okay with you, Tom, rather than my being a part of this one next meeting time.
Oh, we'll miss your smiling face, but we'll be more than happy to have another board member attend.
Okay, thanks. Any questions? I'll be happy to. I will. One other thing too is that we are kind of on top of trying to make sure that trees are saved in the Hillcrest area as they begin to develop. And I know right now they've been talking to residents about what they would like to see, but we're trying very hard to be in on the conversation, and they know that. The board knows that. The president or the director knows that. So we're hopefully we'll make sure that we try to get as many trees saved in the Hillcrest community with the Wilmington Housing Authority as possible. So that's something we're trying to keep our fingers on. So just want to add that as well. Thank you.
No, thank you. All right. Next item is new business. Aaron, you had a couple things you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, just got one update. I know we had brought before the staff were looking into the relocation of 5 trees on 17th Street extension, moving the trees out of the way of a new turn lane installation there. That was put out to bid. We received 2 bids back. Low bid being roughly 183,000. That would be to relocate those 5 trees a little bit further down the median and reinstall them in the 17th Street median. So that work will be going to council. I believe that's also on the March 7th council meeting for them to say yay or nay on that.
Gotcha.
So just wanted to give, since we had brought that before, just want to give an update, progress report on that.
So on the relocation, do you guys monitor the health after, 6 months, a year? Or?
Yeah, we worked in some pretty strict guidelines, pre and post care guidelines, requirements for the contractor to doing the work. And there will be warranty work for a certain period of time after the move.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Fantastic.
If it's approved. So it's still, we got, like I said, we got a bids back, but it does go to council for approval. So
Gotcha.
If they choose to approve it or not, that's their call at this point.
So if they don't approve it, then they just cut the trees and move on?
If the relocations are not approved, those trees would just be removed.
Gotcha.
There's two smaller trees that we were going to move in-house. Those would still get relocated.
Okay.
But the 5 little bit bigger ones would just not be moved if it's not approved.
Gotcha. Okay. Anything else?
I think that's it at this time. I think we've covered everything else I had.
Yep. Thanks for your help on the Arbor Day, North Carolina Arbor Day.
Sure.
All right. Any other new business? Craig? Got anything?
Nothing new.
Okay. Connie?
Nope, thanks.
Kathy? Anything from you? Guess not. Sally?
No.
anything? Oh, thanks. Jim, anything?
Nothing else, no.
Kate?
No.
All right, I have one thing. I got an email from, North Carolina Urban Forest Council. And one thing I noticed is that the North Carolina Forest Service has partnered with the council and Planet Geo, an urban forestry consulting firm, to provide tree sample inventories and tree canopy cover assessments on demand for North Carolina municipalities. So a request for application is open for services, through this. So I don't know if that's something we're interested in, or if, since we already have, this in the works, whether it's just a duplication of efforts.
Yeah, it would not, that particular item would not be applicable to ours. We already have tree canopy coverage data. It's actually in the process of being updated right now. They're just fine tuning it. And with the start of the tree inventory with the urban forest master plan, we're good to go. So a sample inventory is kind of, it's lower level than what we've already started.
Gotcha. I just saw this and saw a grant opportunity that
Yep.
save money.
Definitely forward it along. We can have a look at it.
Okay, all right. Fantastic. Yep. All right, that's all I have. I'll call the meeting adjourned at 10:38 unless anybody has an objection. Nope, no objections. So moved. We're on. Thank you all for attending, and we will see you next month. March 15th, so right before the North Carolina Arbor Day celebration. So again, thank you all.